When we think of Disney, the first images that tend to come up are of the animated classics, unforgettable songs, and famous princesses. And an example of these three parts of Disney's legacy rolled delightfully into an endlessly charming package is Enchanted. No, it's not considered part of Disney Animation's ever-growing catalog, but I think it should be seen as an important part of Disney's animated history, alongside the likes of Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Mary Poppins, films that cleverly combine live-action and animation to create something that stands the test of time and shows Disney's continuing willingness to innovate even as they pay homage to the past. Enchanted is one of my favorite Disney films, and its history is quite fascinating. Enchanted originally started life as a film for that Touchstone unit, as Bill Kelly wrote a screenplay about a fairy tale princess who ends up in modern times, and this was originally a bit more adult in nature, with the princess finding the male protagonist when she's confused for a showgirl. After many directors and writers tried their hands on the project, it eventually landed with former Disney animator Kevin Lima, and he invited Kelly back to work on the final shooting script. Lima was a perfect fit for Enchanted, as he decided to take the opportunity to turn the film into an homage to Disney, and so the film is full of references. Some are obvious, while others are more subtle, with only the hardcore Disney fans catching them. One of my favorites is the casting of Jodie Benson as the law firm secretary, and having her react disgustingly to Princess Giselle spinning a fish into a cup is hilarious. Get it? Because she was the voice of Ariel in Little Mermaid. Oh, and hello Paige O'Hara, the voice of Belle as a soap opera actress. Honestly, if I went through every single Disney reference, I would be here all day. Needless to say, it's a lot of fun trying to spot them all. What also makes Enchanted special is Amy Adams' performance. This is a tricky part to play, one that really should have gotten an Oscar nomination. As Giselle, she has to play her early on as the stereotypical image of the early Disney princess, specifically Snow White, make the jokes work, and also allow us to sympathize with her. It also would have been easy to just portray Giselle as just airheaded in the early part of the film. However, if you watch closely, she is somebody aware of her surroundings despite being in this new and strange world. She picks up on things fairly quickly, even if she looks at things from a rosier and different point of view. The cleaning sequence is a good example of this. She uses her singing skills to guide the insects and rodents that help her, while also having a pretty decent understanding of how the modern cleaning supplies work. She is not a blissfully ignorant character. When Giselle stays more in the real world and she starts to change, Adams and the script develop her in a way that makes it believable, and yet they don't go too far in altering her personality. It shows just how tightly written and well thought out the screenplay is, and Adams understood the character perfectly. Her chemistry with Patrick Dempsey is nicely written too. His initial annoyance with Giselle, eventual understanding, and an adoration is nicely developed through the course of the film. I don't think the Enchanted screenplay gets enough credit for how brilliantly constructed it is, and how each character is handled with the proper time and care, even minor ones like Robert's girlfriend Nancy, played by John Travolta's favorite singer Idina Menzel. Pre-Frozen, but post-Wicked. I think Patrick Dempsey is a very underrated comic actor, and he does a superb job of playing the straight man to Adams. The growing romance between Robert and Giselle is wonderful to see evolve, and I like how the script cleverly shows them learning from each other through the course of the film. And James Marsden is a hoot as Prince Edward, a rather exaggerated take on the classic Disney prince. Marsden plays the role with such joy for everything he's doing, with his love for Giselle driving every decision he makes. But when he has to be sincere, he does a great job at that too. And Susan Sarandon seems to absolutely relish playing such a villainous role, with Queen Nerissa being a mix between the evil queen from Snow White and Maleficent. Thinking about it, Nerissa was a more faithful take on Maleficent than Angelina Jolie's sanitized version of the character. The use of hand-drawn animation was wonderful to see on the big screen, and the animators did a great job of emulating the classic Disney style. Disney had not yet rebuilt their hand-drawn department yet when production on Enchanted started, so James Baxter Animation was hired to create these sequences. That former Disney animators worked on Enchanted also added to the authenticity of it, with Andreas Deja, the supervising animator behind Gaston, Scar, and Jafar, doing superb work on Nerissa. They had the difficult task of having the animated characters match the live-action actors, and so when the film moves to the real world, it still feels like we're watching the same characters. As if Enchanted was not Disney enough, Alan Menken was brought in to write the music, with Stephen Schwartz working on the lyrics. The entire soundtrack is magnificent, including Menken's magical score, and the songs are instantly catchy. The standout is probably That's How You Know, an incredible musical number in Central Park that also provides the first inkling of Robert starting to change his tune about Giselle. So Close is a touching ballroom number that captures that feeling of romantic uncertainty between Robert and Giselle, and is definitely the emotional high point of the film. Happy Working Song is a delightful homage to similar songs from Snow White and Cinderella, and one can definitely imagine the likes of Snow White and Princess Aurora from Sleeping Beauty singing True Love's Kiss. A lot of people saw this as Menken parodying his own style, as well as the classic Disney songs. But Menken's work has always been tongue-in-cheek, going way back to Little Shop of Horrors, and continuing to the many animated Disney musicals he worked on in the 90s, and as recently as his short-lived ABC television series Gallivant. It wasn't much of a stretch for Menken to do Enchanted, and it's further proof in my mind that he can do no wrong. Enchanted is usually referred to as poking fun at Disney and its classic princess films, and while there is a bit of mocking in there, I see it as more of a tribute to Disney and why its animated films continue to resonate. They're the perfect kind of escapism, and beautiful stories about triumphing over evil and that good can ultimately win in the end. There's a hopefulness while watching these romances blossom on screen, and the idea that we can find true love too. Even as they continually update the message, whether by giving their leads new occupations and new motivations, or presenting new ideas, those classic themes about falling in love still resonate, and that's why we connect with Disney films so much. And Enchanted understands that wonderfully. Kevin Lima's direction deserves more credit for how it manages to fill the screen with homages while also putting story first, and visually, it's breathtaking, with Mona May's costumes also playing a role in developing the characters as we see Giselle's outfits change through the course of the film. Disney has lately been in the habit of redoing their animated classics into live-action films, and it's not a trend I'm hugely wild about. My favorite live-action Disney movies in recent years have been ones that pay homage to their legacy while also creating new stories. Ones like Enchanted and Tomorrowland and Saving Mr. Banks are examples of such works that remind me why I'm such a Disney fan. In conclusion, Enchanted is one of those feel-good films I can watch again and again, and it still leaves me smiling. It's the perfect lift to one's spirits, even in dark and scary times, and one also worth watching every couple of years. See you next time.